They say real men don't talk. I say they just haven't been asked the right questions. This ain't about trends. It's about truth, about faith that don't fold, love that costs something, and manhood that still means something. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to build. This is the Always Up Podcast, Season 2, Too Real to Win. For the men still trying to love right in a world that loves wrong. The woman in apartment 3B woke up before the alarm. Not because she had to, because her body stopped trusting rest a long time ago. The apartment was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. Quiet enough to hear everything you tried not to think about. Just controlled. She moved through it without turning on many lights. Coffee first, same mug, same spot on the counter, same routine that made the morning feel predictable even when nothing else was. The machine hummed low. She leaned against the counter and checked her phone. Not messages, something else. Her thumb paused for half a second like it always did, then tapped. The screen filled with a version of her that didn't live here anymore, still earning attention, just not for her. Different hair, different energy, same face. 10 years earlier, but still close enough to recognize immediately. She didn't scroll fast. She never did. Just enough to remind herself it was still there, still searchable, still watchable, still active in a way her real life wasn't. The internet never asks how you're doing now. It just keeps showing who you were. It doesn't age with you. It archives you. She locked the phone, picked up the coffee, didn't drink it yet. The outfit was already laid out. Nothing loud, nothing to ask questions, just something that said normal. She got dressed in pieces, top first, then jeans, then stood in the mirror a second longer than she meant to, not fixing anything, just checking, as if something might have changed overnight. It hadn't. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it this time, a name she didn't know well enough yet. Tonight, a reservation, a place that required effort. He had already looked her up. She could tell by how he texted. Too polished, too aware, like he was speaking to two versions of her at the same time. One he wanted to meet, one he already met, the one sitting in apartment 3B, and the one that never really left the internet. She sat down at the small table by the window, opened her laptop, not for work, for numbers, old numbers, saved, not forgotten. A statement from years ago, months that didn't look real, more money than she had ever seen at once. The money was monthly. The screenshots were permanent. It came fast. It left quiet, back when everything felt like it was moving up. Fast, easy, repeatable. She stared at it, the way people look at old photos, not smiling, just remembering what it felt like to be inside that version of life. The coffee had gone untouched. She finally took a sip. It was colder than it should have been. Most things were now. She didn't react, just drank it anyway. Outside, the day was already starting. People moving, cars passing, a world that didn't know her, or maybe knew her too well. Hard to tell the difference now. The woman in apartment 3B stood up, grabbed her keys, checked her phone one more time, then turned it face down, somewhere between who she was and who the internet remembered she had built a life. Not broken, not whole either, just managed, and neither one of them could fully disappear. At 20, it felt like control. At 30, it felt like evidence. Nobody told her that some decisions don't stay in the past. They just wait until you're old enough to understand what you agreed to. It didn't feel like a decision back then. It felt like timing, like catching something early before everyone else figured it out. The internet had changed, not all at once, just enough that nobody questioned it anymore. People weren't just online. They were available to watch, available to follow, available to subscribe to, available without ever being known. Everything had a price. Some of it just wasn't labeled that way yet. At first, it looked like freedom. No boss, no schedule, no ceiling. Just you and whatever you were willing to turn into income. And people respected it, at least on the surface. Girls were learning how to monetize attention before they learned how to manage it. Nobody explained the difference. Attention comes fast. Understanding comes later. It wasn't hidden either. It was everywhere. Interviews, podcasts, clips, comments. Get the money. Use what you got. Don't leave anything on the table. It sounded like empowerment. And for a while, it felt like it too. Men were part of it, watching, paying, participating. Calling it entertainment like that made it neutral. It's easier to pay for something when you don't have to define it. People pay for what they want. They just don't always respect what they paid for. Nobody thought they were doing anything wrong. That's what made it work. Because it didn't feel like selling. It felt like control. Control of time. Control of money. Control of access. But control has a way of changing shape when other people are paying for it. And nobody really talked about that part. The part where attention becomes expectation. Where the audience doesn't stay the same. Where what worked last month doesn't work this month. Where the money doesn't just reward you, it starts to direct you. The money listens first, then it starts talking back, and eventually it decides, but that comes later. At the beginning, it just felt smart, like she had figured something out early, like she was ahead. And in a way, she was. She just didn't know what she was getting ahead of, or how long it would follow her. She was 20, not lost, not broken, just paying attention. Her room didn't look like struggle. It looked like almost stable, almost enough, almost figured out. Clothes that were good enough, makeup that stretched a little longer than it should, a phone that stayed charged like it mattered. She wasn't thinking about the future. She was thinking about right now, rent coming, friends outside, life moving. And the internet kept showing her something, not directly, just enough. Girls her age, same vibe, same energy, same nothing special turned into something valuable. Links in bios, comments full of fire emojis and money talk, and nobody looked ashamed. That made it feel safe. If anything, they looked ahead. She didn't say it out loud, but the thought landed clean. If they can do it, then it must be normal. Her phone was already in her hand. It usually was. She opened the app, scrolled, paused, not comparing, calculating what they showed, what they didn't, what people reacted to, what actually made money. It didn't feel like a risk. It felt like a play, something you try, see what happens, adjust if needed. Nobody around her was saying don't do it. That part mattered too. Because silence can sound like approval when nobody's offering a warning, especially when everyone else is winning. She clicked into one profile, then another, different girls, same outcome, attention, money, momentum. Her thumb hovered for a second, not fear, just awareness. This wasn't a job application. There was no interview, no onboarding, no gate. Just a decision. The barrier wasn't skill. It was just willingness. She sat up a little straighter, adjusted the angle of the room, checked the lighting without calling it that. The first picture didn't feel like a big deal. That's how it starts. Nothing extreme, nothing loud, just enough to enter the room. She looked at it, didn't overthink it, didn't zoom in, didn't critique it to death. Tap, post it. It didn't feel like a turning point. No music shift, no dramatic realization, just a small action inside a normal night. Her phone buzzed faster than she expected. Likes, messages, new followers. That part hit. Not deep, just enough. Quick, not overwhelming, just enough to confirm. This works. She leaned back on the bed, stared at the ceiling for a second, not thinking about 10 years. Not thinking about permanence, not thinking about memory, just thinking. That was easy. Nothing broke. That's the part people expect. No scandal, no moment where everything collapsed, just small shifts. At first, she didn't even name them. She just noticed things felt different. The phone still buzzed. The money still came. The page still grew, but the feeling didn't land the same. What used to feel exciting started feeling expected, and expectation changes everything. Because now it wasn't, this is working. It was, this has to keep working. That pressure doesn't show up loud. It shows up in decisions. Posting when you don't feel like it. Checking numbers before you feel anything. Thinking about content while you're supposed to be present. Not because you have to, because you don't want to lose momentum. She told herself it was discipline. It wasn't. It was maintenance. And maintenance doesn't ask how you feel. It just asks, are you still performing? Her messages changed too. Not the volume, the tone, more familiarity, more assumption, more access, without asking for it. Like people knew her, but only one version, the one she created. And once people feel like they know you, they stop interacting with you and start interacting with what they expect from you. That shift is quiet, but you feel it. Conversations outside of it started to feel off. Dates that didn't feel normal. Questions that weren't really questions. Energy that felt slightly pre-informed, like she was being met through a version of herself she didn't bring into the room. That part lingers, not enough to stop, just enough to notice. She adjusted. Everyone does. More boundaries, more control, more separation between real life and online. At least that's what she told herself. But separation gets complicated when both versions of you are still active. She started choosing silence more, not because she had nothing to say, because explaining felt unnecessary, and unnecessary turns into distance faster than people realize. The money still came. That part never lied, but money doesn't ask if you're comfortable, it just shows up. And the more it showed up, the less she questioned what came with it. Because questioning something that's working feels like risking it. So she didn't. She just kept going. That's how most costs enter. Not through loss, through continuation. Nothing was wrong, but something wasn't right either. And that difference doesn't interrupt your life. It just sits with you. Quiet. Waiting for a moment when everything slows down enough for you to feel it fully. That moment hadn't come yet, but it was getting closer. The woman in apartment 3B woke up before the alarm, not because she had to, because her body stopped trusting rest a long time ago. The apartment was quiet, not peaceful, just controlled. Coffee, same mug, same spot on the counter. Her phone was already in her hand. It usually was. Her thumb paused, half a second, like it always did, then tapped. The screen filled with a version of her that didn't live here anymore. Different energy, different confidence, same face. 10 years earlier, still active, still there. The internet doesn't move on. It just keeps showing who you were to people who weren't there. She didn't scroll long. She never did. Just enough to confirm. Nothing disappears. She locked the phone, didn't react, picked up the coffee, didn't drink it yet. The outfit was already laid out. Nothing loud, nothing to ask questions. Just something that said normal. Her phone buzzed again. A name she didn't know well enough yet. Tonight, a reservation. He had already looked her up. She could tell, too polished, too aware, like he was speaking to two versions of her at the same time. The one sitting in apartment 3B, and the one that never really left the internet. She sat down, opened her laptop, not for work, for numbers, old ones, months that didn't look real, money that came fast, left quiet, back when everything felt like it was moving up. She stared at it like people look at old photos, not smiling, not regretting, just remembering what it felt like to be inside that version of life. Her name still existed. It just wasn't the version people used first. Ari. Some people still said it like they knew her. Most didn't. They knew the page. They knew the version that performed. The version that never had to explain anything. The version that didn't age. She finally took a sip of the coffee. Cold. She drank it anyway. You get used to that. Outside, the day was moving. People going somewhere. conversations happening that didn't involve her, a normal life or something close to it. She stood up, grabbed her keys, checked her phone one more time, then turned it face down. Somewhere between who she was and who the internet kept showing she had built a life, not broken, not whole either, just managed, and neither version of her was going anywhere. That's the part nobody explains. Decisions don't always end. Some of them just keep introducing you to people you haven't met yet, including yourself. Nobody tricked her. That's too easy. She saw it, understood it, chose it, and it worked. That part matters, because this isn't a story about failure. It's a story about agreement. What you agree to give, what you agree to trade, what you agree not to think about until later. And later always shows up. Not loudly, just eventually. The world told her it was control. And for a while it was. But control doesn't mean ownership, especially when other people can still access pieces of you without asking. That's the part nobody explains clearly. The internet doesn't forget, but it also doesn't understand. It doesn't grow with you. It doesn't adjust with you. It just keeps presenting a version that once made sense to people who don't know the difference. So now she lives in two timelines. The one she's in, and the one that keeps being introduced on her behalf. That's not punishment. It's just how it works. And most people don't think about that when everything is moving fast. Because fast feels like forward, even when it isn't. Some decisions don't ruin your life. They just reshape it in ways you don't fully understand until you slow down. And slowing down is expensive when everything around you is built on momentum. So people keep going, not because they don't feel it, because stopping will require them to finally sit with it. And sitting still has never been the popular move. So this keeps happening. The different names, different faces, same agreement. Nobody wrong. Nobody a victim. Just people making decisions inside a system that rewards them quickly and explains them slowly. That's the part worth understanding, because the next version of this won't look the same. It'll look smarter, cleaner, more normal, more accepted. And the question won't be, is this right or wrong? It'll be, what am I agreeing to this time? And who do I become when it follows me forward? Because it always does. Some choices don't end. They stay active. And eventually, they show up as people. Thanks for listening. Too Real to Win is for the men still trying to love right in a world that loves wrong. No clout, no gimmicks, just truth. I'm Brian B. Turner, and this is the Always Up Podcast. Until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and always up.